There were teams that seized the moment while others squandered their opportunities, leaving the door open to rivals. Thrilling finishes, controversies and Lloyd's exit lounge. That's all coming your way on Access All Areas thanks to Crypto.com.
Carlton will hang on and win their 8th game in a row. And Bailey, the Lions are at their dynamic best in the third.
A dirty derby performance from the Eagles as Fremantle break all sorts of records.
This is a team with the most magnificent future ahead.
Great to have your company after a massive weekend of footy. Matthew Lloyd and Damian Barrett are here with me. Welcome, gents.
Morning.
There's only one place to start, and that is with Hawthorn. We might as well call them Miley Cyrus because they are the wrecking ball of the competition at the moment. Knocking off. Damo's just laughing. What a way to start the show. They knocked off another top 8 contender. This time in the Bulldogs and Lloydie, it was the Hawks' unheralded midfield that did the damage once again.
It did, Nat. I thought the Dogs started okay and they looked a better side, but just didn't put it on the scoreboard. Norton missed goals he should have kicked, but after that, what I love about Sam Mitchell and his coaching, he's very good at taking the strengths away from the opposition. Bontempelli was well beaten and well held, 23 disposals. Liberatore, before he got concussed, he didn't look, he had one touch. Yeah. He was being destroyed by Finn McGuinness. So, Bont 23, Treloar 19, Bailey Smith 18 disposals and McRae 16. They were smashed through the middle of the ground.
When we see what was done by way of the damage, Lloyd, the midfielders were, as always with Hawthorn this year, central to it. Who have you got winning the Hawks best and fairest? That man on screen right now, John Newcombe, and this is a key moment in a key game. All will do.
I'd love to see James Sicily win the best and fairest because I think he's by far their best player, but I think Newcombe would be the best of them. Despite Day being their best player, I think Newcombe's probably had the most consistent year, but an awesome performance from Hawthorn. I thought they were by far the better side. Obviously, the Dogs rallied late, but it's another huge help for Sam Mitchell.
So let's talk about the Bulldogs because there's going to be a fair bit of soul-searching at the Whitten Oval. They've dropped down to 8th place. They're still not a lock to make finals at this point. And this was Coach Luke Beveridge after the game. You can see him addressing the group. Damo, they are just so hard to trust at the moment because they've continually given up early leads and lost games.
Yeah, that's one part of their problems. Even post-match, Luke Beveridge was making excuses about the narrow margins of 3 of the losses that have been in recent weeks. He also referred to the comeback of sorts, which saw them kick the last 3 goals of the game. But it's not where they intended to be. It's not where they should be. They've got a bit of a get-out-of-jail card in the West Coast Eagles being their next opponent. So one win out of the remaining 2 will probably get them in, but they arguably don't deserve to be there.
So I'm curious, Lloydie, to get your thoughts on this last play. It was Tim English who took a kick in. Now, we haven't seen the ruckman take a kick in at all this season until this moment with under a minute left. Just talk me through what you're seeing here. And is this unusual? It's bizarre.
Absolutely bizarre. This, to me, is a team without a plan. You plan for the last 30 seconds or 40 seconds to hold on to a lead, or you plan for the last 40 seconds in this situation to take the lead. And that is a team without a plan. Like, think back to Scott Pendlebury when Jamie Elliott kicks the goal, where that was a clear plan. Everyone knew what they were doing.
So let's work through it. English taking it, that's just wrong. But if he did, what should he have done? Gone straight up the middle? Straight
down the middle. Yeah. And then you try and knock the ball over and just surge the footy. That was a team without a plan in the last 40 seconds of the game, and some say, this could have happened. That doesn't matter. This was a guy running around not knowing what he was doing.
First time he's done that this season, and he chooses the most pressurised moment of the season to that point.
And they were hoping for the best in that situation, not having a clear plan in that scenario. So
what's it say about the general structure and planning and preparation of this club?
To me, it says why they just never beat sides above them. And they only beat the sides below them. That clip there sums up why they're just making up the numbers.
Well, let's go back to Saturday night now. One of the most talked about moments from round 22 was that score review late in the Carlton-Melbourne game. The Arc deemed this one inconclusive. The soft call from the goal umpire was touched on the line by the Blues defender in Caleb Marchbank. So the call was upheld. Are you both comfortable with the angles that we're able to access here from the Arc, or does the technology in 2023 need to be better?
I think the angles are okay. It's just you can't zoom in on a very high high definition or ultra definition perspective. Now, that to me is the issue. And in terms of the process, well, the process was adhered to. The soft call went up, and it was a touched soft call, and as such, that had to be the only outcome that could come on the back of reviewing the video itself. But yeah, it's a constant problem for the game that the technology just hasn't kept pace with the times.
Does it need to be ramped up potentially for finals, Lloydie? Because if this happens in a grand final, I mean, and we always say that, but it'd be a huge controversy.
Yeah, my gut feel was that it wasn't touched. I know the process you're spot on is right, but to me, Melbourne may have to travel to Port Adelaide or Brisbane in the first week of the finals off that result when they could have had an MCG final. They may still get there, but yes, if they could ramp it up, do it, because I didn't like the ending.
Well, let's talk about the Blues, because that was their 8th straight win, and they are playing incredible footy at the moment. Another huge scalp, and this is a great stat here from the Guru in Swamp, and it tells you pretty much, Damo, everything you need to know about their resurgence.
Yeah, it's just the most staggering storyline of 2023, and how it's all happened inside the season itself. And you go to round 13, they were 4 wins only. They had a draw as well, but 4 wins only after 13 matches of this season, and then to have not lost since, and to got on a roll, and to see what they're now doing, Lordo, weekly against really good teams. We weren't sure when they beat Port Adelaide, an injury-depleted Port Adelaide. We had cause to stop and really think when they beat Collingwood, but this was their most important win of the season for so many reasons.
Yeah, no doubt. Melbourne are in red-hot form, and they beat them. I think Melbourne were the informed side going into this game. So it's just tough and it's relentless. But then it's their ability to move the footy. So they weren't moving the footy well at all. We were all having a crack at them. You've got Kerno and Mackay, you're kicking on their heads. They were in each other's way. Now they've just got everything. Yeah, they've got the tough surge mentality, but they've also
that guy
got
on
the
screen
ball
there, Nat Tom de Koning, the last 2-3 quarters he's played against St Kilda last week and Melbourne on the weekend is huge.
And Nick Newman, he's playing phenomenal football. They've got small forwards who are pressuring. They've got midfielders like Dow and George Hewitt who are stepping up when they get their opportunity. So much to like. The
nice problem they're going to have is getting these elite players back into the team who are injured. Walsh, Chera, Mackay, Silvani, McGovern. You've got Kennedy as well. The only one who won't come back is Williams, and he would be if he was fit. But what are they going to do, Lordo? There's 6 players who will be available at some stage of the next 3 or 4 weeks.
What a great problem to have. So I think Chera replaces, just walk straight in for a Dow or a Hewitt, in my opinion.
Yep.
And then obviously,
Mackay, what do they do there?
Then Walsh will replace one of the outside wingers, I suppose. Maybe
is Pitt in its position under jeopardy with Mackay being back and Silvani as well?
Yeah.
Is there a danger of making too many changes though, and just upsets the apple cart and the winning formula that they have?
The positive is they're getting a lot of them back this week.
Yeah.
So I think that it's not going to be like the finals where Darcy Moore and Dacos are coming back first week of the finals, whereas at least Carlton gets some back this week.
And what about their coach, Michael Voss? He was under immense pressure in that middle part of the season, and this reaction post-game when the siren goes, he's like a little kid in a candy store jumping up and down, and I saw him post-game in the rooms as well. He could not wipe the smile off his face, Damo. I mean, these were great scenes.
Look, he was gone, Nat, wasn't he? I mean, look, he had the contract for next year, and I feel that Brian Cook and Luke Sayers, the official heads of that footy club, CEO and chairperson, were going to honour that contract, but it was going to be an ugly remainder of 2023 when they hit that stage of having lost 8 of 9 matches this year. Now you fast forward 8 weeks and you look at these scenes. There's no reason, Lotto. They're going to finish 5th if they keep winning, and they're at 5th now. They can still win it.
Yeah,
as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, it's always hard, but they're playing as good a footy as any team in the competition right now.
What about the Ds, though? What about their forward line? It's the most talked about forward line in football at the moment. I mean, does Grundy get another go, Lloydie, or do you just hold fire until Fritsch comes back? Do you just move the magnets around, Smith maybe forward, Tomlinson back? I don't know. Like, what is the right thing to do?
Being there on Saturday night, I thought he started as a forward really well. He was never going to kick goals, but he led up well and he got involved, took some marks. He was occupying Jacob Wiedering.
Yep.
But after half-time, I saw Goodwin go away from that, and he didn't even play him on the ground that much. It was either ruck or you're off. Joel Smith went forward. So to me, within game, Goodwin went away from the plan that he started with So that tells me that Grundy's not going to be part of the plans. I wouldn't have thought this week moving forward.
And Gawn just wasn't as impactful
No.
as he had been without Grundy in the team. Now, whether you want to throw that into the mix too, Nat, but I'm with Lloyd. The Grundy thing just hasn't worked because they've changed the parameters on the arrangement themselves as a club, not Grundy.
Yeah, certainly not envious of the decisions that Simon Goodwin has to make in the next couple of weeks before finals. To the Power now, and they look like they've regained their mojo, snapping a 4-game losing streak with a big win over the Giants yesterday. And Lloydie, that Port pressure, that flair and intensity that we've come to love for most of the season, it was back.
Well, when you win 13 in a row, you can afford to have a lull like they did. So they lost 4 games in a row, had injuries. But, yeah, then you can spark back up again and you're still in a position to be top 2 like they are. So, yeah, I thought Horne-Francis had his best game in a long time, 27 disposals, 3 goals. Butters did what Butters does. Rosie's electric. So when their midfield catches fire like they did, they can obliterate anyone.
No, they were terrific. Yeah. They certainly were. And I think also back on the winners list was St Kilda, Damo, and they've really improved as well in the last 3 weeks. But they faced some really big challenges with the Brisbane, I think it's Geelong and then Brisbane to finish the season. Yeah. Where do you have the Saints at right now?
Well, they're higher than I had them at. So, I mean, full credit to them. They've weathered the storm that came after their good start to the year. They won and ground their way out. And then they just blew Richmond away yesterday. And we saw a month ago when Ross Lyon went public, Max King's out for the year, and then now he's not. And now he's kicking 6 goals in around 21 game. They've got reason to hope pretty big with him back in key form, and Jade Gresham out of contract, unknown where he's going to be next year. Yep. It's working right now for him personally and the club because he's having a good back half of season.
To the west now, and on Saturday night it was a brutal derby demolition. There's no other way to put it. The Eagles, well, they came out and they kicked the first 2 goals, and then Fremantle kicked the next 17 to run out 101 point winners, which was a record in itself. I mean, where do we go with West Coast here, Lloydie? Because we've spoken about them a number of times, and they had shown some improvement in the last couple of weeks until Saturday night.
Where do they go? Make change. Just make change. Because I think these players need a fresh voice. They need fresh faces, and they need to be challenged in a way that they've never been challenged before. So if I'm a player, I want to walk in and see a new fitness coach putting the fear of God into me about what the pre-season I'm going to have. So that's going to happen. We know that's going to happen. I want to see a new coach if I'm a player, to see be challenged, fresh ideas, new voice, new assistant coaches. And then obviously everything starts at the top, and they have to ask, have we got the best administrators? Do we need fresh ideas there? So that's how aggressive I'm going if I'm the Eagles.
Carlton got them by 100 points in round 7, and they've since lost another 4 games by 100 or more. That's 5 for the season, 5 inside 15 weeks. They've also had an 80-point loss on the season. They've had 2 70-point losses. They've had 60-point losses, 50-point losses. He's not surviving this, and the only real surprise is that he has survived it to this point.
All right, well, another struggling side is the Kangaroos, and they've got some big list decisions to make as well, and there will be a few Roos who won't like watching back some of this vision we're about to show you now, but these are some of the players who are much maligned and probably their futures are at stake. Kane Turner being one of them, Damo.
Yeah, look, he's been around a long time, Kane Turner, and there was some surprise when he came back into the senior team this year, but it just goes to show how lacking in depth this footy club is. I mean, he plays a role, and certain coaches like him, and he does certain things, but he also does bad things too, that coughs the ball over. Key points, they were coming here, and then that's just a nothing disposal there. I mean, he's not their biggest problem, but I'd be surprised. Jaden Stevenson's got to make that a better effort against Nick Hine, doesn't he, Lotto? That just has to be done better.
Unfortunately for Jaden, he has so much talent, but he's just not aggressive enough or physical enough, and this just pops up all the time where he's an outside player and then becomes nervous and jittery and fumbly. So I think it'll come down to contract snap. So this is the last one. Taron Thomas could have been more aggressive in the air. How desperate was he to get back and help the young kid Sheasel, who may win the best and fairest in his first season of footy? So they got huge decisions, but I think if a guy like Turner, he's out of contract, so he's under the pump, but Stevenson has a contract.
He does have a contract, and so too does Thomas. And, I mean, when you've got someone of that talent on their list, they're not going to explore that possibility, but they've got to get more out of him.
All right, to the Lions now, and Brisbane moved into second spot on the ladder after a narrow win over the Crows. I think we're all waiting to hold our judgment on the Lions, though, until September action. We want to see what they do in finals. Lloydie, from your perspective, what are they lacking at the moment that they need to work on in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think midfield depth is my big thing. They go up against Collingwood at Marvel on Friday night, so we'll see how they go up against Collingwood there. Collingwood's midfield isn't flying themselves.
It's a massive game because you talk about, let's see what they do in finals. That they can set up their finals by winning that game against Collingwood in Melbourne. I know it's at Marvel, not the MCG, but it's an away game. Win that, they finish second, I reckon, and then they can control a destiny.
That's true. They don't lack for much, Nat, so I think they're in a good space.
All right, well, last week we launched Lloydie's Exit Lounge and it is back. We've got another 3 teams to take a look at and what they need to work on in the off-season. Lloydie, let's start with Fremantle.
Yeah, it's been a bitterly disappointing year for Justin Longmuir and his team, and I'm just going to start with attack the corridor more. So I just feel like Luke Ryan and these backs that play there, they forever just get a lot of ball, but they go sideways. They don't hurt you enough with what they do. So Alex Pearce is another one. Attack the corridor more, get the right personnel down there. Justin Longmuir, intelligent guy, but to me looks it's bland at times. So surround yourself with personalities to stimulate the players. They're the worst first quarter side in the game, so that's a big one for me. And it's about how they manage Nat Fyfe. I know they've probably done a lot right and they've probably done a lot wrong, but just set him for 15 games. Like, don't look to play him all year. Obviously, they have to manage his pre-season really smartly, but he's just signed a 2-year deal, Damo, so it's about managing him as best they can. And I don't think he's a forward, so it's just managing him for 15 powerful games through the midfield.
Yeah, and interesting words, choice of words there too. Attack the corridor and bring personalities in. You are of the view they're a dour, conservative team which has suffocated both their play and their thought processes.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Fremantle, a team we all thought could be top 4, and I just feel like they were too safe early in the year and they never recovered that.
Yeah, they've certainly been disappointing, has Fremantle. Gold Coast too has been disappointing. This was the year we all thought, is it the year for finals? And it wasn't. They are looking for a new coach. What else do they need?
Yeah, just consistency. And I think no one really trusts the Suns. Every time we want to trust them, they let us down. So can Damian Barrett bring that? That's what he'd be there for. A 3-time premiership coach. Bring a harder edge and a greater consistency. It's a strange thing to say because they had 1,000 draft picks and high-end draft picks, but I think they lack class in the midfield. They have the Rowell and the Took Millers, but after Noah Anderson, I don't think they have much class through there. So that's something they have to attack in the draft. And I'm going to look at King and Lukosius. So one of those guys needs to do a Charlie Curnow and be the man. Like, I don't think it's going to be Lukosius because I think he's a nice
smaller player.
Yeah, he's a nice player. He's not a powerful player, but Kingy, I think, can be that. But he's had his moments where he's looked really poor and he's looked great. So I think with Damien Hardwick at the helm, I think I could see King being like that Curnow, winning a Coleman, kicking 65 goals and taking them to the finals next year under Damian Hardwick.
Well, speaking of Damian Hardwick, let's take a look at his former side in Richmond. Where are they at, really?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think they need to be realistic of where they're at. I would like to get the job if I was a coach at Richmond because I still think there's 8 to 10 players that I really like that you can build upon. But be realistic where you're at. And that's not, to me, being a top 4 or 6 side next year. So it might be that you make a hard decision on Jack Revolt and go, we're not going to be top 6, so let's move on someone like that as well. I'd select a Craig McRae type in terms of who they believe is the next best development coach because I think they have to develop kids because I think they're a fair way off being a premiership side for another 4 or 5 years. And then their talls worry me. They do worry me. Let's take a look at some of those guys. Noah Bolter. So this is the best of Noah Bolter, but he was poor again yesterday. I think his positioning is really poor. It makes a lot of mistakes. Samson Ryan, a lot to work with. Get him in there. So it could be a hard call on a Soldo or a Nan Curvis at the end of the year. And then you've got Ben Miller, Tyler. I'm just not sure they're good enough as players.
They show enough, don't they, at times?
Yeah.
This is Tyler Young.
Tyler Young. And then you've got Gibcus who'll come back, who's the best of them, Nat. So again, that development type person to assist the talls who are lacking at the moment.
Okay, thanks, Lloydie. We'll have more clubs in Lloydie's Exit Lounge coming next week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And 2 more rounds to go of the home and away season. Of course, the official AFL tipping competition, thanks to Crypto.com. If you want to win, make sure you get your tips in. Some early bold tips, please. Collingwood, Brisbane, Lloydie.
Collingwood.
I'm going to go with the Lions, Nat, at this early stage of the week, just to finally break a Melbourne hoodoo.
Okay, Saints and Cats on Saturday night.
Cats.
Cats as well.
Giants, Essendon, that's basically an elimination final, Lloydie.
Yeah, I think the Giants.
Yeah, same.
All right, time now for our crypto brave play. And Ben Cunnington, we know the courage that he's displayed on and off the field, but how nice was this moment from the shin boner in his final game?
It was special, Nat. I mean, game 238, the last of his very grand career, and the storyline attached to it with the cancer battles that he's had. Hadn't played since round 8, came in and immediately impacted like he'd done so often in the previous 237 games. A goal in that quarter, a goal later in the game, 2 for the game. The contested bull that he always has been was on show for the entirety of the game. They just didn't get the result that the team really owed him.
He left nothing out there in his final game. It was terrific, and congratulations. Go and enjoy retirement on the farm. Now, we had a couple of oh no moments that we're going to finish with. This one from James Sicily, the Hawthorn skipper, which I was very confused about.
Yeah, I am too, Nat. So, the talk is that because Weddle was back there with West, that was okay. But I think those players should be cleared out. Hold James Sicily up. Don't let him kick it in till they're there. And you got to know your limitations, Cody. And I think you're out of your weight division there on Newcombe. Yeah.
He cleaned himself up, basically. Oh, look at that. So a couple of oh no moments to finish Access All Areas this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again next Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week.